Hi, Internet. Welcome to our first little objective tutorial video we're putting out for, well, I guess this is the Gold Squadron tournament. So I've got the one and only Tim Hilton here with us, holy ranker of X-Wing players.
Hello, everyone.
Um, yeah, so the first one we're going to look at is it's actually mission number one to make everyone's lives easier. So you can see, first thing we're doing is just setting up the shuttle, range 4 from board edges. I am the player on the right, Chris Allen, and so I was setting it up as close to my side as possible because I want to be closer to the objective. I had initiative, so I put the shuttle down, and then I had initiative, so I put the first rock down. My opponent, Matt, is hiding off screen to the left. And we'll go into the squads and everything in a second, but the how you set it up is much more interesting, so I wanted to talk about that while we're looking at it. So I am just double checking it because I think I hit the table. I'm really good at this game. But yeah, so the basic rules for this are there's a shuttle in the middle of the board. And if you are the only player with a ship at range 1 of it, you control it at the end of the turn, and that means you get to move it, you get some points, and you're trying to move it closer to your edge of the board, and you get a bunch of points. We'll go into the specifics, as we get there, but, the basics are you're trying to get to the shuttle and keep your opponent away from the shuttle, or pressure them out, pressure them out of it. And if you get it to your side of the board, you basically win the game, but not quite. So you do have to kill something as well, probably.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to get to 100 victory points like all the other objectives, it looks like you need 50 to get it back to the starting zone. That you get 50 for getting it back to the starting zone. So that makes a lot of sense. You still have to kill some points, and it looks like you're going to be going up against Dash Wolfaroo, if I had to guess. So
Yep.
you're probably going to need to go for Dash.
So it's actually interesting because you get 10 points every turn you control the shuttle as well. So by the time it gets to your board edge, if you get it off, you've got a minimum of 80 points unless your opponent flew it at you for no reason, which they shouldn't do.
Yeah, don't do that.
So in this case, actually, I can kill either one, but in general, make sure you do your tournament math. Look at the objective is going to get you. Look at what your killing your opponent's list is going to get you, etc. Because it's the first player to 100 points wins, and how you score points is the standard way you would in a game. So killing a ship gives you points, and doing the objective, like Tim said. So in this case, players get 10 points if at the end of the end phase they are the only player at range 1 of the shuttle. They control it. That's what we've added a keyword called control. That's what control means. So I have a ship at range 1, my opponent doesn't, I control it. Or range whatever. Whatever it specifies. And then you get 50 points for getting it to your deployment zone, range 1 of your board edge that you started at. And if you control it at the end of the end phase, then you get to perform a maneuver if you want to. So you can do a 1 straight or a 1 bank in the direction that the large ship base is facing. And it doesn't have to be a shuttle. Shuttles are just fun to escort, so that's why it's a shuttle.
Rebel players can say it's a shuttle Tidarium.
You can use a Falcon, whatever. No judgment. Only a little judgment.
So I have a question because I haven't actually seen these objectives until literally 10 minutes ago. What happens if I fly the Lambda shuttle off the board to prevent my opponent, who I know is going to be in a much better position in a couple turns,
right,
from taking control of it?
So there's also a new rule because some objectives move and things get complicated, like you can try to fly them off the board. So there's a keyword that applies to the shuttle, or a phrase called cannot flee the battlefield, which basically is if it would fly off the board, you complete the maneuver, you complete it off the board, and you take that alignment and you just slide it back onto the board. Like perpendicular to the board edge, it went off, if that makes sense.
So you don't do like a K-turn or anything?
Yeah, actually, initially in testing, we had it doing a K-turn, like just flipping in place when it hit the edge. But we got into situations where you'd get the shuttle to the board edge, like close to yours, but your opponent got it for a turn. But it was really close to facing yours, so they'd slam it into the side board edge, flip it 180 degrees, and it's facing dead on towards their board edge. And it kind of punished you for scoring the objective, which was unfortunate. Yeah, funnily enough, since we changed the rule, it's only happened once. So I don't know if it's just so disincentivized to fly it off the board now that nobody does it, or if we were all just excited to break the rules and fly things off the board.
On purpose.
Yes. But anyways here, so you can see, so we've got, your standard Lone Wolf Ray Dash, And then Wolfero with Targeting Computer, Push the Limit, Kanan Crew, Kyle Crew, and did I say Push the Limit? I don't remember.
Yes, you did.
Okay, but so that guy is basically just an objective sitter, right? Like he wants to get that thing to the shuttle, and he just wants to sit there and be really annoying to shoot at. And then he brought Dash to do damage while he does it, which is a good
And
idea.
then he took all the rocks on his side. That's odd.
Yes,
Anyway.
I was gonna say. Let me get through the Imperialist I'm playing is just a standard Inquisitor, push the limit, title auto thrusters who's hiding off the top of the screen. A standard Omega leader, 26 points, juke comm relay, and then a patrol leader with Darth Vader crew, who is basically the exact opposite of that Wolfero, whatever his name is.
Wolfero, I don't know.
I'm gonna
It's
go
called
park him on the
Wolfie.
board at Wolfie. I'm gonna go park him on the objective and just burn everything down to the ground, including my opponent, so there's nothing left, and then I get the objective. So yeah, so you saw I put down the first rock. It was that top left one because I wanted to make it hard for him to get behind the shuttle because the shuttle goes in the direction it faces, right? So you want to get to that corner behind it. So when it moves, you move up behind it. You're still at range 1. And then he did, the exact opposite, put that debris behind me because it's a pain for me to get through. But then he kind of played himself and got that rock there. Like you saw, Dash had to barrel roll out of range 1 of the objective to not shoot. Which means that I got it the first turn, or I'm about to get it the first turn, unless my Decimator happened to die.
Which I don't think it will.
Yes, it'll be
I
an
have
impressive
spoilers. I probably won't.
True statement. It will survive.
Yeah. So I like the list. I like the fact that the lists are sort of geared towards taking and obtaining the objective here. It's good to see. I like, and that's one of the main reasons we originally started talking about objectives 6 months ago was how do we shake up this meta, and objectives were a very solid way of doing that.
Yeah, basically the goal is, since there's 7 objectives, you can't tailor your list to do weird point fortressy things for all of them. Like the point math isn't going to work out, and the general strategy isn't going to work. Because some objectives move, some objectives you move, some objectives you shoot at, and some objectives shoot at you. So it's really hard to construct a Miranda Corin list, for instance, that you kill something and wait. Because if you try to kill something and wait with your 2-ship list, your opponent's like, well, I guess I'll go get the shuttle and just win because I killed 50 points, right? Then the shuttle flies off the board, gets us the extra 50, and the game's over. And because of the new scoring system, this is all in the tournament rules and everything we'll post up. But the rounds, well, it's a small side effect, purposeful side effect of the rules change. Games tend to be much shorter, which is probably because we're bad at it, one, but also because, there's a second way to win the game. The games can't be slower because MOV is just scored while you're playing instead of, when things die. So things die and points happen, so it can't be any slower than a standard game.
Right, and that's honestly a good thing. I mean, you can have tournaments where you get 6-7 rounds in one day easily instead of having push really hard to get that amount of data in to form a good cut.
Yeah, so the downside of the scoring system is it's hard to make MOV work, so we just didn't bother trying. And we're just taking strength, at least for the initial run. We'll take strength of schedule, try to add an extra round. And that's actually more fair than MOV as long as you can get the extra round. But if you can't, then you get into the scenario where, well, I lost the first game of the tournament. I might just be out depending on who wins and who loses, and it's outside of my control. As long as we get the extra round, that's not a concern.
Right, as long as you can get it as close as possible to a clean cut.
Yep. And I apologize for not paying too much attention to the game. The goal here is really just to talk about the why, not the what. So we're not too interested in how much damage Dash is taking and doing. It's wow, Lone Wolf Dash just barrel rolled into range 1 of a ship because otherwise that shuttle is going to get closer to the edge of the board and he's going to lose. Right? That's the interesting bit
for doing that. Basically, that barrel roll just there where he won't get to shoot. Bought him 10 points of MOV.
Yeah, or it prevented me from getting 10 points of MOV because that I don't remember.
So
if
it's
that
a 20 point swing.
Range 1. Yeah. If he controls it and I don't, it's 20 points. If we're both at it, nothing happens. But that still means that he's net up 10 points where he would have been.
Right.
And you will kind of see Matt struggle some because the needing to fight over an area and an objective really tends to punish 2-ship lists, which was a design goal So,
Yeah,
it,
more ships on the board is a good thing in my opinion as well.
yeah, or I mean, not even necessarily more. Like we don't need 6 or 7, but more than two, I think, is probably good. And
Yeah,
here, like, I mean, you see something like Lone Wolf Dash. Like, if he wants to sit on the objective, he doesn't get to shoot, and Dash is very sad about that.
right. And I mean, I think 3, 4 ships is where X-wing should be. It should be like a small squadron
Yeah, that's where everyone
level
seems
game.
to like is the 3 to 5 range, and usually closer to like 3.5, not the 5,
Hmm.
unless like Tie Fighters are involved or something.
What are you doing? Not holding down the template? Sloppy play,
There's a
Chris.
Decimator in the way. No one saw me cheat. It's fine.
It's frustrating.
Call a judge. I have all the power here.
That's right, you do. That's happening in North Carolina. Did he 3 hard? Oh no,
No,
he
I
did not.
tweaked. Which I was hoping would get me out of range of Dash, but I wasn't expecting the barrel roll to range 1 because I'm still new at this too.
Hmm.
Yeah, so while we're, combat's going to happen in a bunch of dice, we don't super care about the result of happening. I just want to read the actual rules for anybody that is watching and doesn't feel like alt-tabbing or whatever. So, summary. Battle for control of the stranded shuttle. Earn 10 VP, which is victory points, every turn you control the shuttle, and 50 VP if you can bring it to your starting zone. So that's just like once you've played them all a few times, you read that, oh, that's which one we're doing. More specifically, the objective rules are everything that's different is at the end of the end phase, so all of this is at the end of the end phase timing. And the end of the end phase is specifically defined as before you remove tokens, but after any other effects, such as Cornhorn's attack. So, like, if something's going to shoot you, you still have whatever focus or evade tokens you didn't use because of other game effects. But yeah, so basically, if a player... Well, not basically. The rules are straight up. If a player controls range 1 of the shuttle, that player scores 10 VP. If the shuttle is in a player's deployment zone, and that player controls the shuttle, that player scores 50 VP, and the shuttle is removed from the board. And if controlled by a player, the controlling player may execute a white, 1 straight, or 1 bank maneuver from the front guides. So the ordering is actually really important, because the first thing that happens is you control the shuttle, you get 10 points, and then if the shuttle is at the edge, if the shuttle's in your deployment zone, you get 50 points and it disappears, and then you move the shuttle. So if you move the shuttle into the deployment zone, you've got to keep it there for a turn, and then score it again for it to actually score. So actually, you get 90 points, basically, because it takes 3 turns to get back there, and you've got to sit it in a turn. But you have to control it that turn it's in the deployment zone. If your opponent controls it, they get the points, they get to move it, and they're going to get it out of your deployment zone, presumably.
But they don't get 50.
Right, they have to get it all the way to the back to their side of the board.
Right, making sure. Okay. I'm reading through the special rules, where the shuttle also obstructs attacks, which is pretty cool, where you can hide behind it while you escort it to give yourself a little bit more agility. That's a really good special rule, I think.
Yeah, it just slows down the game a little bit, basically.
Obviously, can still bump. It ignores all obstacles, cannot suffer damage, acquire tokens, or be dealt with a condition, which makes a lot of sense. And it cannot flee the battlefield. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are the special rules.
Yeah, when somebody ran into it with Unker Plut, it was like, oh god, what do we do? Never mind. No tokens of any kind. Let's just kill all this before anything terrible happens.
That makes a lot of sense. And you can't. So, I mean, if you could, have it not overlap ships and just skip over ships, man, the crazy things you could do.
And it's like, how do we even do that? Then we've got to define rules for how things move. And the thing is, like, the core rules of X-Wing are pretty amazing, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know everyone likes them, so the less things we can change or add, the better.
Right. I agree. So the shuttle didn't move last turn.
Right.
And that was because there were multiple people contesting it.
Yes, so I had a ship at range 1, he had a ship at range 1, so no one scored points, and we went on to the next turn. And actually, you can see hiding at the very top of the screen in low quality is just how we're marking the objective score, because everything is in chunks of 10 MOV that you score in this. I've just been using a token of some kind, like that's an extra munition token. I've got one on my side of the board because I scored it once. But if he scored it this time, we just make another pile, and that's the amount of times he scored it.
It makes a lot of sense. Or you could get some Imperial Assault dials, would also be great for
exactly.
it. Just do them in groups of 10.
Yeah, and right now objectives are either 10, 25, or 50 points. So whatever you want to use to track them should work out just fine. And there's some more really weird moves that I actually want to talk about. So we saw my Decimator take a move that was straight up bad to block his Wolfiro from getting to range one, his Wolfie to get to range one of the shuttle. So, like basically, if he wanted to get at range one of it, he had to take like a 3 bank and probably not have arc if the Decimator did like a more reasonable maneuver that wasn't just going to sell him out super hard. So that I could have the shuttle for sure. Because once the shuttle faces one of the player's board edges, it's really, really snowbally. It's really hard to come back from your opponent getting it 2 turns uncontested. Or not necessarily uncontested.
I can imagine, especially if you like, because as soon as you have a 1 bank here,
Yep.
That shuttle is heading into your deployment zone no matter what he does.
Yeah, so if I get it twice before he gets it ever, then he's got to turn the whole thing around in my deployment zone, which is outrageously risky, especially with 2 ships. So I got to give a shout out to Matt, who was like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "Well, I want to demonstrate that 2-ship lists are bad." And he's like, "I got you."
Fair.
So this game's not like super one-sided or anything. I mean, you can see my Decimator on with some outrageous amount of damage on it. The whole thing's just on fire, whatever. It's burning itself down while it's at it.
Might as well.
Yeah, right? Like, MOV straight up doesn't matter leads to some very interesting game decisions. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as a tiebreaker, which is, you win or you lose at the end. So you can, I mean, I've just been, like, for instance, I've been playing, like, Decimator lists. The, like, large base cheap ships are really good at controlling objectives in this. Like, as much as I don't want to recommend it, like an Intel Agent Jumpmaster, you can just throw into the middle of the fray, and nobody wants to get close to it, and you can just kind of park objectives.
So are you trying to tell me that there is a reason to take the Outer Rim Smuggler?
Yeah, actually.
There you go.
But, I mean, really, any area control tool is, like, kind of amplified here. Like, surprisingly enough, like, Crack Swarms seem to do pretty well, because when you tell your opponent, you have to come fight me, they have only a couple turns to figure out how to not just die when they joust you.
Right.
Like, they've got, like... Because you can take the objective for a couple turns, but you don't lose the game if you let your opponent take the objective for a couple turns. It's just hard to come back. But sometimes you need to let your opponent just take the objective so you can get behind their Crack Swarm or, whatever. But some really scary things are like Stress Hogs are so good in this format, and Stress Braylon is so good.
I can imagine.
Minefield Mapper was actually so confusing, we just straight up banned it. But no thank you. We're not solving that problem.
FAQ, please, on that.
Yes. And
did we tell the good people that half points?
We've been invaded, everybody.
We did not. We've been... How's it going, Dion? Yes, there are no half points on large base ships because so there's 2 reasons. One being the half points rule on large base ships is to keep you from taking a point fortress like Fat Han and running, but the objective already punishes that hard enough that we found in testing that it doesn't really need it anymore. But also it felt really bad to say score 70 objective points and your opponent scores like 60, then one of you half points the other one and the game is suddenly over. No one died, nothing happened. It's like, oh, I did 2 hull, the game's over. Like, what? So we just nixed the rule. It hasn't felt
especially
bad
when
yet.
2-ship lists are essentially are already so handicapped,
Right.
as everybody's seeing in this video here. It makes a lot of sense because, I mean, if you could half points that big ship and get,
Right.
they're already penalized so much.
God, the handsome Decimator in his natural habitat making big sweeping motions. I'm sorry.
God, your template maneuvering is just annoying me.
You take that.
It's not sliding it in there all the way.
Nope. It's like there's a big camera in the way.
It's true. It's fair. It's fair.
But no, I mean, so you can see kind of how this game has gone really differently than a standard one. Because usually we'd see, Lone Wolf Dash, like, hang out in the back, stack up a bunch of tokens, and then come out where he can't be cornered. But here he's had to be, like, all over the place, and now he's running for his life because he had to take engagements that he didn't want to, so he doesn't just die. And hoping that Wolfie here can,
carry the
survive
day
long enough.
And another thing that we haven't mentioned in this video is that this is one of several objectives that you have to take into account when you're forming a list for a tournament. So yeah, you can build a great list that'll handle this objective, but then there's 6 other objective-based missions that you could be facing in any given tournament that you have to then worry about.
Right. So, I mean, maybe like, wow, you're thinking like, man, I could take a stress hog, Biggs, and some other stuff, and I could just, one straight behind the shuttle and get it to the board edge. That's great up until you have to fight over a rock that doesn't move, and your opponent can just get behind you.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there's one objective that's like that. Basically, we tried to put in a decent amount of objectives that reward and punish different things so that you can't bliss build around them super hard. And, basically, if somebody finds a way to break it, we have the magic powers to update the objectives so that it's not broken.
And you don't have to wait, 2 months for approval on that update.
That helps a lot. There's so many objectives that we just straight, got rid of. It's like, well, this doesn't work. Oh, well, let's just try a different one. And, it's nice to be able to just change things whenever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace, Paul Ball.
Yes, rest in peace, Paul. But Paul had a very fun one. We'll have to talk about it when we actually drop the full details for everything. But Paul had a good one. You had a good one that I couldn't make work with all the gladiator stuff.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out how to get all the tokens on the game board and have it not be confusing.
That was my issue too when I tried to run it.
I was like, I don't know what's going on.
It sounded cool. That's about it.
It was fun. Once we figured out what to do, but getting to that state was like, all right, maybe this is too many rules. Got poor Wolfie here.
He's probably going to be hurt.
Yep. But he's doing his job, right? If he lets me get the shuttle, then he would have to... The only way to prevent him from losing next turn would be if he got dash at range 1 of the shuttle, which is super not happening. So he has to put Wolfie there, which means he's just going to get swarmed to death by the Imperial Aces.
And Dash is already pretty much dead.
Yeah, well, he's at I think he's at about half. It's hard to tell because our video camera... had some technical difficulties this week, so I had to jury rig it together. So, Dion, we're about to wrap up this one, but I can get you... Did you download the video for the other one already?
I have a 1 hour, 14-minute video.
Cool. So, yeah, the other one is the first half of the video, so our lives will be much easier. But yeah, I never read the setup rules. Those are important. Because you can see if you have the objectives on you, above the setup rules are the number of obstacles that are used in the scenario or objective. You're required to bring 3 with your list, just like anything else, but for some of the objectives, having 6 rocks on the board is way too many, so they use 2 instead, which means that once you see that it's that objective, you look at your opponent's list, you pick 2 of your obstacles, and you roll with those. Which means now suddenly it might be a good idea to bring a big debris and 2 big rocks. It's like, oh, they have dash. This is a rock now, not a debris, etc. But this scenario is 3 objectives per player, which tends to make that circle around the objective that you saw there. So we kind of talked about it. The first thing that happens is the player with initiative places a Lambda shuttle or large ship-based token outside of range 4 of any board edge, which basically means the dead center of the board. You get half a range band of wiggle room to work with, but it's pretty much dead center. The shuttle has to be placed facing directly towards one of the board edges, which is not a player deployment zone. So directly to the left of the player placing it or directly to the right. And obstacles are placed as usual, cannot be placed overlapping the shuttle. When we recorded this, we also wanted to test out what happens if you have to deploy the obstacle outside of range 1 of the shuttle, which I liked. I liked how it turned out. So when you get the actual rules for your tournament in 2 weeks... or whenever it is when you listen to this, double check that because it might have changed. But rules as written now, you can put them on top of the shuttle if you want, or really underneath. And we do have another turn, but I think Wolfie here is at about 1 hull, and Dash is facing the wrong direction, or he was going to.
And
die.
the shuttle's essentially into touchdown zone.
He's coming in.
But so while we're just kind of watching some maneuvers here, I found really interesting things are very, very good at this format. Imperials are back with a horrible passion. Aggressors are amazing at this. X7 defenders, like the PS1 defenders, are amazing at this. Strikers are so good at this. And it's really because bombs are much worse, because all these bombers can't afford to be within range of the objective, and they're also super expensive. So for those of you that are salty that Imperials are gone, give it a shot here. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how good things with firing arcs are. Yeah, I mean, obviously, large base ships are good, cheap large base ships. So your triple Atani Mindlink Deadeye Scout, or not Deadeye, oh god, Atani and Deadeye, I'm out. No, your triple Atani Scouts are also very good, but because some of this Imperial stuff is back, yes, for now. But because some of this Imperial stuff is back, suddenly you might have to deal with Soontir and the Inquisitor, and, it makes your life much harder. Because you can't just go out and block them because you've got to stay close to this objective or they're going to, grab it out from under you. So it leads to some really interesting mind game and block games that hopefully people like.
Mm-hmm. And you're also going to need some just straight up speedy big ships where, you might even entertain putting engine on a palp shuttle to be able to get places faster.
And we'll talk about it at the setup for the next mission. But so these objectives that need to be outside of range 4 of a board edge, if you want to be at them at turn 1, you need a 5 straight with a small base ship or a 4 straight with a large base ship, which means 4BZ isn't getting to an objective on the first turn. So you either have to bring a ship that's fast enough to get there, or be willing to live with the consequences of not having a ship that's going to get there fast enough. Because it's just barely outside of range 1. If you take if you bring like 4 X's and a Z, you'll be like a ship base away, or half a ship base out from an objective that started as close as possible to you. So
what I'm hearing is like T-70s, A-Wings, those ships, a lot of ships that people want to put on the table are going to be really viable in this format.
Yeah. Large base ships makes it easy. Like Jump Masters, you can 3-bank barrel roll and be there easily. Decimators, you can 4 straight. Any like Falcon 2400, you can 4 straight and be fine. But it also means putting your like very expensive ship like straight in front of your opponent, and they know where it's going to be. So it's got to be worth it.
Mm-hmm. Or like Dion said, maybe it's time for the cheap proto A-wing to have a role.
Oh yeah, because you get up, you go and you take the objective, and then the next turn you're up blocking your opponent's face. It tends to be very good. Like even that 15-point filler, or give him auto thruster 17, whatever. So there we saw Wolfie died, and I think Dash was at like 1 hull or something, so we weren't gonna play out the next turn.
Oh, congrats, Chris! You won.
Thanks. Oh wait, no, I didn't.
Probably about to happen.
I didn't concede. Judge, I've missed what's going on. He wanted the shot back, the dream, baby. Or I'm shooting him. That's what it was.
No, it looks you grabbed green dice. Green dice on your decimator.
Yep. Range 3 obstructed, baby.
2 hits. Suck it.
Focus up. The best, most agile decimator in the world.
All that paint.
Oh god, now I remember how this ends. It's fantastic. So he went to concede because he's at 1 hull or like 2 hull. And it was like, nah, I'll play it out for the camera. Hits my Omega Leader.
Cheater.
So disrespectful. And then gets Vadered off the board because he couldn't hit a decimator.
Sad.
So there we saw I scored the 3rd thing. And so we moved the shuttle, give the decimators some room to hide behind it in the off chance it can somehow survive Dash's shot.
Mm-hmm.
And Wolfie's dead there. That's why this is moving. And it's in range 1.
Couldn't get the handshake on camera? Noob.
I know. What kind of scrub set this up? Somebody knocked the camera so the whole mat's not on there too. Sad. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Dion, give us the details of your tournament while you're here. Why is everybody watching?
Yes. Say that again.
I said, why is everybody watching this? This is for you guys.
Yeah. So I was offered the opportunity to run any format I wanted at the Dragonfall miniatures convention that's happening in St. Charles, Illinois. And I said, actually, we've been working on something. This is perfect. So this is not quite the debut, but definitely a beta test. I don't know. What do you want to call it, Chris?
Yeah, beta test is good. It's we think we found everything that can end horribly wrong, but let's find out.
Exactly. So we're gonna open it up a little bit. Hopefully, some people can make it out, and hopefully these little videos help you out to understand what's going on.
Yeah. So thanks again for watching, everybody. We've got 1 more video uploaded, maybe even 2 by the time you see this. So check it out. The next one's Objective 7.